It's the Sittin Sportside podcast, exclusively on 1045theteam.com.
And welcome into the podcast right here on 1045theteam.com. I'm Eric Hammond, along with my co-host today,
Drew's Logar in the building, ready to be here, ready to talk some NBA draft lottery.
As promised. And nice.
With some little background music there.
Yeah, on top of the background music. But right before we start, we have Cody and I did a Sittin Sportside podcast. Just want to promote that real quick about the NHL expansion draft.
Right.
And the MLB All-Star selections, our MLB All-Star selections. That's up at youtube.com/team1045. But this podcast all about the NBA draft and then some, right? Because we have some big stories coming out. But opening comments here, I'm assuming are going to be on the trade that brought basically Markelle Fultz
right
to teammates with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, among others,
and we
in
can,
Philadelphia.
It's pretty crazy because with all of the rumors that we've been talking about the NBA draft, Eric, the past month, with this trade, Philly bumping up 2 spots from the 3rd selection up to the one they traded with the Celtics, as we now know.
Right.
Markelle Fultz is now basically the one lock we have leading into this draft on Thursday. So Philly picks first. When you look at their lineup, what are they really only missing?
Point guard.
Is a point guard.
But don't you think they really wanted Fultz that bad?
And I think they do, man, because I saw reports. Brian Colangelo, GM of the Sixers, comes out today and says how Simmons is still going to be the primary ball handler. Last year's #1 pick, he ends up going down with a foot injury, out all year last year. So they're potentially going to be playing 2 rookies this season in Ben Simmons and Markelle Fultz. And they're saying that we kind of look at Markelle Fultz almost more effective off the ball
makes sense.
Compared to a guy like Simmons, who is crafty with the ball, but he's more of a distributor and he can get to the rim. But Markelle Fultz, with how bouncy he is, how easily he just glides to the rim, it's kind of a really interesting and crazy thing to think that he's a point guard on paper, but with this Philly team, he could be a 2 guard. And at 6'5",
right,
it might make total sense.
You look at the other 2 guys that are the point guards in this draft. Lonzo Ball, I mean, his dad's made it clear that he needs the ball in his hands.
Right.
He's more of a point guard, even though he has the 6'6" frame. And then De'Aaron Fox. I mean, I would have been okay. I actually, as De'Aaron Fox on that Sixers team, I would have kind of liked that fit maybe a little bit better.
Right.
So you could have got him at 3, but they wanted Fultz like.
And
what do you make? What do you make of the comments about both Simmons and Fultz being college basketball players who did not lead their team, if you will, to the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, and it's a crazy argument because I'm trusting the talent that the 2 individuals have over them not taking their team, but it is kind of funny to think that now in this day and age, if these kids aren't taking their respective college teams to the promised land in March Madness, we're saying, oh, well, the talent isn't really legit.
No one believes that.
But I mean,
100%.
I know I sure
Simmons
don't, because I was seeing Simmons the whole year at LSU. He was the best college player, and he was playing with a bunch of scrubs. And
Tim Quarterman, Antonio Blakely.
Right. And Antonio Blakely will make he'll make a team this year. So I guess you have some point there. But I think Markelle Fultz is a bit of a different story than Simmons. He's not as an electric player than Ben Simmons is, but you're seeing a guy, he's been the sure thing. Even with all of this Lonzo Ball hype, with Josh Jackson becoming a darling of this draft, now De'Aaron Fox rising up these draft boards, I think the one constant has been Markelle Fultz is the top guy. And Philly is once again treating the rumors about this kid for real, and that's why they jump up. And I think we're slowly starting to see the emergence of what Colangelo has wanted for so long in Philly, and maybe it's starting to come together. We saw what a healthy Joel Embiid can do.
Yeah, but there's so
he
much,
goes down with injury, I know,
so
but
much concern with that there. But obviously,
there always is with it when he's 7'3" and he already has a couple injuries on his record. But you see, he's a ticket buyer. I mean, like when he plays, whether they're playing the Utah Jazz or the Golden State Warriors or whoever, or your Brooklyn Nets, you're gonna sell seats when Joel Embiid is playing.
Well,
now Ben Simmons,
he's really good.
Ben Simmons is that kind of question mark. Is he really that good? I got to go see for myself.
I think he is.
Well, no, but I'm saying as the fan.
Okay.
So it's like, is he really that good? Let me go see. So that'll buy seats. And now you have Markelle Fultz, who now all the fans are going to be like, all right, well, we traded up in the draft to get him. Let's see if he's legit. There's a lot of pieces that are starting to make sense, and it's cool to see Philadelphia hopefully starting to become legit.
Yeah, I think that they're going to be a fringe playoff team this year, actually.
Right.
I do.
I think I agree with you for sure.
And I have no problem with either side, really, because I think I've heard, and I don't know, my Celtics fans that I talk to might be not the
right.
consensus, but there seems to be a lot of pushback on this deal. Like, they might have wanted Fultz more, but I think it's a perfectly fine deal if you're the Celtics, because I do think that you look at Fultz and he isn't necessarily that can't miss product that we know. Like Simmons last year had all the hype because
right.
he was followed throughout his college season. While Fultz, people knew about him because everyone was talking about him because he's a prospect.
Brushed under the leaves a little bit.
He was more brushed under.
Right.
Exactly. And so
keep going. Yeah,
I
just have a point.
I have no problem with the trade
because
because they were making reports coming out that they favored Josh Jackson anyway.
Right, and that's kind of where that's a good lead into where I was going with now the Celtics at 3. Eric, I think they're looking at their team that they have now, and with the almost Isaiah Thomas has become the star boy in Boston, whether the franchise really wanted that to happen or not. I know we talk about it all the time. Do you really want to pay a 5'8" guy max money and lead the franchise with him, him carrying the franchise on his back? There's question marks about that. But with everything that happens tragically with his family, but how Boston surrounded him and supported him throughout the rest of the playoffs, and honestly coming in the top 4 for most of MVP votes in this season, it's kind of hard to argue Isaiah Thomas being your leader at the point guard.
At what point do you just fall back and say, it doesn't matter the size of this guy, he's getting the job done?
Exactly. And then that furthers my point and they're looking at, well, the top guy on all these boards is Markelle Fultz. Do we really need him where we have Terry Rozier coming off the bench? We have Marcus Smart, who's a dog, both defensively, and he can hit a couple threes offensively.
Yeah, I think Rozier actually makes it the reason, might even be more of the reason why.
You have Avery Bradley and Isaiah Thomas, 4 guys that can, whenever you need them to, handle the ball. So they're looking at Markelle Fultz as really not somebody that they got to take.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
now,
it's not.
When you look at Lonzo Ball being a point guard again, they don't really need that, so they drop down. Who is the next best guy on the draft boards? A lot of people think it's that Josh Jackson character out of Kansas, and I mean, dude, that like you kind of brought it up a minute ago. I think that makes too much sense. You have Jaylen Brown already, who's kind of the same type of player. If you could match him up with his twin, 6'8", they both love defense. They're both springy as all get out, and they kind of have that bulldog mentality.
Exactly.
I think that now couples with what Isaiah brings, what Avery Bradley brings, what Marcus Smart brings. Say what you want. Kelly Olynyk is that dirty, scrappy player. Brad Stevens, I think, has a method to this madness, and sliding down 2 spots to get most likely Josh Jackson.
That fits even more into his system.
It makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. Now, I know we're both in agreement here, but let's just talk about kind of Danny Ainge's method to the past 3 or 4 drafts, because now this is just another example of him not just taking the pick that they have, the blessings that they've been handed, but he's always kind of trading down for more picks. He has
last year, I feel like
7 picks in this draft. Next year he has 8 or 9 picks. The previous draft he had 7 or 8 picks. Danny Ainge is always about the multitude of picks, but when you look at his track record,
that's just a Boston thing. And
there's a lot of misses in that, though. So can we criticize him here? I don't think it's the same situation, because dropping 2 spots, I think they're still going to get the guy that they wanted. But I think it is embraced debate.
Last year they would have traded. I think they would have traded down last year because Jaylen Brown was actually kind of high at 3.
Right, when they picked him, I was kind of like, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And so I think that he would have done that last year because they have the guy they know that they want. Because at this point, because of where they've been in the last couple of years in terms of standings, they now are a team that isn't necessarily drafting just the best player available, but they're the best player for their team.
Fit. Yeah, they're a fit team.
Obviously, like last year, if they had the first pick, even if Simmons would have fit perfectly for them, but even if he didn't, they probably would have taken him anyway.
Right.
Because that's what, but I don't put Fultz on that pedestal necessarily.
Right.
I think
agree.
the talents are even enough to where if they think Jackson fits better, then go with Jackson and then get another pick for whether it's next year or the year after that.
Yeah, and I just kind of wanted to bring that up because today Danny Ainge was getting a lot of flack for.
I don't understand
why is he always making moves. Let's let him just kind of sit still and deal with what they have.
But then he would have gotten criticized if they took Josh Jackson instead of Fultz, right?
I mean, so Danny Ainge was in necessarily a lose-lose here, but we're talking about it. He's in a win-win here because they're going to get the guy who they want anyways. So I think, and
guess what he does?
I think Boston,
LA. If he goes into that without doing this deal, and he takes Josh Jackson 1 because he didn't want Fultz ends up in all intents and purposes. I know not recent times, but in all sense. He ends up on the Lakers because the Lakers really wanted him.
Right.
So in a way, he like the rivalry is still fresh between the Lakers and Celtics because he just kept Fultz from falling to the Lakers.
Yeah. I agree, man. I think
even though the Sixers are in their division.
Right. I think the Celtics are doing all that they need to be doing, and I don't give Danny Ainge and management in Boston any flack for this move that they did at all. Let's talk about, just quickly, I think Fultz to Philly, Jackson is the first guy on Boston's big board. Does this make it a lock that Lonzo Ball goes to LA?
I keep getting like these feeling that he's not going to go to LA for some reason, but it just makes too much, it's always made too much sense. But then when you keep hearing that they keep bringing in other people and they're not really into Lonzo, it just kind of starts getting a red flag. But it just makes too much sense. So I think that he will go too. It just makes too much sense to me.
I agree.
They wanted to trade D'Angelo Russell for the longest time, it feels. I don't know if maybe if they've got after this year they've kind of gotten back in good graces. I know he and Nick Young are fine now, but they've always seemed like they've wanted to get rid of D'Angelo Russell for whatever reason.
It's funny because I thought they kind of valued D'Angelo Russell more than they did Jordan Clarkson. I always thought Jordan Clarkson, their 6th man, he started a lot of games this year, but their kind of utility guard, that he was the expendable one. But yeah, I think LA, it just fits for Lonzo Ball. His dad is a big spotlight. Lonzo Ball, obviously, with his big baller brand, he needs to be in that spotlight. He's done all of the questionable not working out for any other team besides LA. He barely even gets on the phone with any other team. But I bring this up, is it a lock?
According to him in that Foot Locker commercial, it's all his dad.
Right, yeah. But I want to bring this up because I'm a Suns follower, Suns writer, all of that. And the Suns are my team, and they're at 4. And they're not pushing hard, but they're definitely trying to entertain LA and what it would cost for them to move up to that 2nd pick to get Lonzo Ball. Let's just talk logistics before we agree with the fit. Do you think that LA values Ball enough to say, Phoenix, sorry, we're going to move forward with Lonzo? Do you think that they
based
value
on the
him
media
enough?
purposes, the way I feel like the media has reported some of the things that have gone down recently with the Lakers and Ball, I feel like it's kind of they are getting a little skittish in a way. So I think that there is kind of some room there for Magic Johnson and the Lakers to be like, yeah, we'd be able to entertain.
Or is Magic and all the Lakers, are they purposely going a little skittish to kind of open up, if you want this spot, if the price is right, we'll sell.
Exactly. If the price is definitely right, that would sell the pick possibly, and they would take Tatum or I like Fox. Let's say if they want to stick with the point guard, I would go Fox, but I think that the Lakers would fit decently with Jason Tatum. Or, well, no, Jackson will probably be gone. So
Jackson's 3, so I don't know, man. It's to me, it makes too much sense that LA drafts.
Yeah, it does.
Drafts him at 2.
It just does.
But now then we move down to 4, so let's just chalk it up that Fultz to Philly, Ball to LA. You have Josh Jackson to Boston at 3. My Suns are up at 4, and I know this might only be touching the hearts of maybe 2 or 3 of the Capital District faithful here because the Phoenix Suns aren't the most well-liked team, but hey, if you are a Suns fan, these next couple minutes are for you. The Suns have wanted... It seems like they want the best player available, but then I also keep reading things that they want to continue this build for the future type style team. So you look at Jason Tatum has been high on their board this whole time. In an ideal world, they would love Josh Jackson, Lonzo Ball, Jason Tatum. That would be their 3. Lonzo Ball for the ticket selling.
One of those 3.
Lonzo Ball for the ticket selling, but you got to assume that he'll be getting picked in the first couple picks before they.
Yeah, yep.
But then Josh Jackson would just fit beautifully. He's a defensive 6'8". He's long. He's athletic. He would bring in that firepower to kind of be that opposites attract for Devin Booker. Devin Booker is not a huge defensive guy, but he's a scoring machine.
Right.
So Jackson kind of to bring in and balance out Booker's flaws would just make so much sense, but we already chalked it up that Boston is going Jackson at 3. So does Phoenix go? Well, we are. We're saying. Right. So does Phoenix go Tatum, or do they go De'Aaron Fox?
Yeah, I think
or now the guy that a lot of people are starting to believe in is Jonathan Isaac.
That's too much for me.
But hold on, let me just make the case. Even as a Suns fan, I don't necessarily agree with it. But in this
You're telling me Malik Monk is going to fall all the way to like 8 or 9. That's insane.
I do think that.
Oh yeah, I know. I just think it's crazy. Especially what I've heard the Knicks might do, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
And we will to stay on the Suns here for a second.
No one cares, Drew.
I know. I got to give him some credit, man. I've been waiting for this moment this whole season. The whole season was a wash. So now this is our time to shine. So I want to get your take on this though, because personally I like Tatum.
I think Tatum makes the most sense for what you need.
We need just the best player. And I know that a lot of people say...
I like the way Fox could fit in if you're definitely going to get rid of Eric Bledsoe and Brandon Knight.
But that's the whole... It's all contingent on if we go Fox, that means Bledsoe's out.
I just like that backcourt way too much. I know they love drafting Kentucky players. You know, like they have 4 Kentucky guards. That's crazy.
So I think if we narrowed it down...
But yeah... I like that backcourt way too much. The future of Fox and Booker in the backcourt, I think it could be pretty lethal in 2-3 years, if not right away.
And if you're listening still this deep of the podcast, first of all, we appreciate it. Second of all, I am going to shout myself out. I write for valleyofthesuns.com. It's the Phoenix Suns website, and I wrote both about how Tatum would fit and if we drafted De'Aaron Fox, what would that mean for Eric Bledsoe and the bunch. If we went Tatum, I would be all smiles, and I would love that offensive wing domination
what's your
of
feelings?
Booker and Tatum.
We're already deep into this. Okay, what are your feelings so far after 1 year of Marquise Chris and Dragon Bender?
Dragon Bender is a question mark for me.
He's already
I like Marquise Chris. Okay. I think that he's... Well, first of all, we already knew that he was an alley-oop machine, and he's a shot-blocking 6'10", 4'5" guy, but... By the end of the season, they were stretching him out to the three-point line. He ended the year at 38% from the arc. So he was showing a lot of versatility. I like Chris Bender. The jury's out for me. I don't. The sample size was too minimal.
Right.
And
I mean,
he's a skinny 7'1" guy.
I got that takes some time to develop. I mean, that was one of the worst rookie seasons of. Not him. I'm talking about the rookies in general.
Oh, no, for
as
sure.
a whole.
And it's not like we're panicking
in the first year.
And it's not like the Phoenix Suns are panicking at all because they're not in win now mode at all.
No, not at all.
So I think it's going to have to be a big second year for Bender before we really start having opinions on him. But I guess to close out this fourth pick for the Suns, ideally, Tatum just makes a lot of sense for continuing.
He does.
Continuing consistent scoring. Booker would be 20 plus per game.
I don't think you could go wrong here for the Suns. You just take whatever's given to you off the top three.
And I agree. I think that they're in best player available.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame either pick unless they somehow took Isaac. If they somehow took Isaac, I would be like, okay, then you definitely made a mistake. But they're not going to. They're going to take one of those two, Fox or Tatum or whoever is available. So
right. Yeah, I think that is. I agree with you on all of those fronts. And I think
now, what would the Kings prefer? Do you think the Kings would prefer Fox or Tatum?
They would prefer Tatum.
Okay.
I think that they need a consistent scorer, dude. I mean, De'Aaron Fox. See, the thing is that there's a lot of hype on these first four guys, but De'Aaron Fox could very well be the gem of this draft 10 years down the road.
100%.
But when you look at these first couple teams, you got for strict hype purposes only, you take Ball and Fultz over Fox. Whether me and you disagree or not on this, you take the hype over De'Aaron Fox, but Sacramento, they're a team that they just need. Whether they go Jonathan Isaac, whether they go Tatum if he's on the board, or they go Fox, they just need something.
Yeah.
And Tatum, I think, is the best offensive player in this draft. And when you look at that team, Rudy Gay's not going to be there for the long haul. Tatum could be almost that substitute for the long haul of Rudy Gay.
It's almost like sloppy seconds in the sense of whoever's there, they're going to take. They're not going to.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so
I think after 6 or 7, so you go Sacramento at 5. Orlando is still sloppy seconds and thirds. I think 7, 8, 9, 10 starts to be
okay. So you think Orlando
systematic drafting?
So you're saying top 6 should be the 5 we've already mentioned, the core 5 plus Isaac.
Plus Isaac.
Okay.
I think Isaac, dude. When you look at this with the way the NBA is going, there's no longer.
First off, Orlando might be the most incompetent organization I've seen.
Without a doubt.
In more recent times.
We're looking at an NBA now.
Besides the Nets, obviously.
We're looking at an NBA now, Eric, besides the Pelicans who are trying to defeat the odds with the bigs, the true bigs.
Everyone thought they were making a push for the 8.
Gawky big isn't really popular anymore, which is why Jonathan Isaac is so valuable, because he's 6'11", he's wiry, he could dribble and he could shoot, but he's also that rim protector, and he has the 19-year-old string bean, that hype because he's so lean. I
just get worried about that because
young.
you saw guys like Noah Vonleh over the years kind of get some hype, and then they haven't panned out yet.
Noah Vonleh has no outside game at all. Noah Vonleh is a 6'11".
He was supposed to. He was supposed to be similar to Chris Bosh.
But he never showed it at Indiana.
It's been 3 years.
And he's still
give him another one in
underwhelming for sure.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
But to answer your question, I think Fultz, Ball, Tatum, Jackson, you have De'Aaron Fox, and you have Jonathan Isaac, that are basically the 6 locks. Then when you go down to Minnesota, the New York Knicks, the Dallas Mavericks. Why wouldn't the
Magic consider Malik Monk, though? Do they not need a shooting guard? I mean...
Yeah, I mean, that. I guess you could start...
Are they giving up on Aaron Gordon if they're going to give Isaac more of a run here?
Aaron Gordon, yeah. I mean, do you... And they have Vucevic. So I guess, yeah, you could put in Malik Monk. I was kind kind of trying to keep Malik Monk out of the picture because
I know, because he's falling. He seems to be falling, man.
But ideally, I think he fits perfectly with New York.
But I'm hearing more and more that this kid from France is getting some hype in New York. That they might
Frank
actually take
Nicolata or whatever.
Yeah, Nicolata over Malik Monk. Like there's an actual possibility that if they're both there, that he could take. And we didn't mention really Dennis Smith at all, who seems maybe like he doesn't really fit in Minnesota that well, does he? I mean, unless you're really gonna get rid of Rubio, but you have Chris Dunn. I mean, come on. I mean, like, how many more point guards do they really need? Especially because Zach LaVine's also a point guard. So what are Minnesota going to do?
You know what? I think you bring up a very good point with Orlando and Malik Monk because I think Jonathan Isaac might fit beautifully in Minnesota.
Right. He would fit better there for sure.
I think you can now dish off.
Orlando's not going to be like, they're not going to be like, here's a gift for you, or Minnesota. But yeah, I would think
they wouldn't be intentionally giving them a gift at all. They would just be picking Malik Monk because they need a two guard.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and then Minnesota has been looking for a reason to get rid of Pekovic. They could finally do that.
Yeah.
And then you could,
has he played in the last 2 years?
Right. And then you could finally kind of just let Karl Anthony Towns play and not strictly
he'd be his Willie Cauley in a way, right?
What? Yeah, he would almost be a Willie Cauley. And a lot of times last year, Tibbs had Karl Anthony Towns in the paint exclusively at times.
Mm-hmm.
Now you could kind of just let Isaac and Cat roam and just kind of have a hybrid 4-5-4-5 in there at the same time and just kind of forget identifying as we have a center.
Right.
We have a big man. It's no longer that.
This team needs to take a jump at some point, though. I mean,
and I think that they will.
This
and
year has to be the year,
I trust Tibbs too much.
Right?
I trust the progression of Andrew Wiggins and Cat. I think the Minnesota Timberwolves, you talk about a fringe playoff team. Last year they were. I think they do make that jump this year.
Yeah, I would say so too, but
I think closing on the draft, let's close with the New York Knicks. Give them a couple minutes here, Eric. So now we chalk up. I think I agree with you. I think you bring up a good point with Orlando. Let's put Malik Monk at 6.
Okay.
Let's just
that's what I would personally do.
For laughing purposes, let's put Jonathan Isaac at 7.
Yep.
So New York Knicks at 8. Let's just talk about some potentials. We have Dennis Smith.
Right.
We have the Markkanen character. We have.
Yeah. They don't need another Porzingis.
No. I'm just saying potential guys. So. And then they have the Frank Nicola. I know I'm mispronouncing his name. I'm sorry, but so who do you think?
Nikita or something.
Nikita or whatever.
Nikinia.
But let's get off that.
Nikinia. Anyway.
In my opinion, man, I think they need a point guard.
I think a point guard would be nice for them.
Which is why it's like you say, oh, they would pick Frank over Malik Monk. Well,
they shouldn't.
I kind of would too.
You would.
Okay. If they did, I wouldn't be totally blindsided by that pick because Derrick Rose is not the guy. They brought him in knowing that he wasn't going to be the guy for the future.
Oh, yeah.
But now with his newest injury, he's done. Do you take Dennis Smith?
Well, this goes farther than losing Rose. I mean, like Carmelo's basically gone too. So
right, but Carmelo has been the only constant for the Knicks in the past almost decade. And now, what do they need to totally rebuild? You have a star in Porzingis. You have a couple good pieces that'll be there for the next couple of years in Courtney Lee and yada yada yada. A couple guys that you paid, whether you believe it or not.
Right.
Let's bring in a young point guard to totally change the way the future is going to behold. So in a small sample size, do you like Frank or do you like Dennis Smith more?
I mean, I'm not a Knicks fan, but I would love Dennis Smith in you. I think he was, for a long time during the season, he was considered
the top
for the top pick.
Yeah, literally. And then
he had that big dunk against the Duke Blue Devils.
Yeah, and being on
impressive.
The underwhelming NC State team, he kind of dropped
underwhelming
in stock.
It's another guy who didn't play in the NCAA tournament.
Right. Yeah, to me...
I think that he would fit really well there.
To me, I'm always I trust the American hype more than the international hype. And I know Porzingis is a huge defying of those odds. But Frank Nikitila, whatever his name is, or Dennis Smith, when Dennis Smith 8 months ago, NBA GMs were saying, if we have the top spot, we're taking Dennis Smith.
Right, yeah, exactly.
But so now he's down there. If he's on the board, I think that would finally be a pick that Adam Silver comes out, announces it, and we don't necessarily hear Knick fans booze.
You used to boo me on my draft day.
Nice, yeah. So
but you think that they would, if let's say Smith happens to be off the board at that point, and it's Malik Monk and the Frenchman, do you think that the better choice would be the Frenchman, Tequina?
Yeah, I think they're in we need a point guard mode. So I think that we would hear boos, but I do think that if it was Nikita or Malik Monk, they would go Nikita.
And they would get a lot of boos if you left Monk on the board.
Right.
A lot.
Right. So, yeah, it's going to be, the jury's out, man.
For you latest fans mock draft, Harry Giles falling to Brooklyn. I'm looking at this mock draft. That'd be nice.
Right. So that's...
that'd be nice.
Right. So you're a Brooklyn Nets fan. You would like Harry Giles.
I would like Harry Giles, Rab.
Right, Ivan Rabb
from Cal. I think if TJ Leaf continues to fall, he's a project.
I love TJ Leaf, dude.
He's a project.
I love TJ
but we
Leaf.
don't like you said with your sons.
Projects.
Yeah, we're not in no rush.
You want to develop these guys. I would love TJ Leaf.
And then either Jordan Bell or Swanigan, I'd be okay with later in the draft, and maybe Frank Jackson. Those are guys I would look at for the Nets to take if they don't package those to move up. But I don't see anyone past those top 7 or 8 that I would really need to trade up and get, unless you really love like Luke Kennard or Mark Kinnon.
Yeah, or if a huge surprise happens and for some reason the Suns wow everybody and they take Markkanen at 4 or something like that, and now De'Aaron Fox is still on the board, we might see somebody jump up.
I don't know
but
how.
that really won't happen. So
yeah,
I
have
agree.
Next year's first round pick to trade.
Right. So I agree with you with those later round picks.
That'd be nice. And then Justin Jackson, I don't think he'd fall to the Nets at 22. But
he'll be getting picked before.
Same thing with Bam Adebayo and.
Yeah, it's
so.
It's gonna be interesting, man. For all you NBA fans out there, we might be looking at.
We have a Draymond Green in this draft. You think second rounder who might be better than.
I don't know about that, man.
Not quite.
I think this is a very first round draft heavy draft.
Yeah.
But I think, like I was just about to close this segment, I think we might be in for one of the better balanced first round drafts that we've had in a while. So NBA fans, whoever you root for, you really can't go wrong with any of these first picks in these first 30 picks that come Thursday. So grab your seat, grab some popcorn, grab a soda, because I think we're going to be in for a very
it's
fun
one of the more fun
ride
drafts to watch, I think,
on Thursday night for this NBA draft lottery.
Anyone like Deontay Davis from last year? Anyone? probably not. But he was invited and didn't even get drafted in the first round.
Yeah,
poor guy.
No, I don't think so. I think all the people that we're talking about are legit, and all the teams and GMs think that they're legit as well.
So we are a half hour into the podcast, a little bit more than that. Some big time things happening though in the other side of the NBA. I mean, there's all about the draft right now.
Right.
But July 1st, right, free agency opens. That's when the big stuff happens, and all of a sudden we have these like big things already happening, to go on.
And it's funny because
it all kind of seems to revolve around the Cavs and Warriors.
It always does. I mean, we're in an NBA that whether you like it or not.
I personally think and this is for me. I'm only speaking for me here, but I know there's a lot of people who believe what I'm gonna say here. Basically, I think this is close to a make or break year for the NBA, because I think if you don't have a team like the Timberwolves, maybe they're not quite ready to make that big of a jump, but if you don't have a team come out and be like
young relevant,
exactly, or like have some like the Thunder were. I mean, they didn't make the finals that year, but
I understand what you're saying.
If you don't have another team come out and actually be a real contender,
it'll look two-headed monstery.
It'll be yet another year of possible 12-0s going into the final.
Well, to combat your point, Paul George and Jimmy Butler are both in rumors to the Cavaliers, Eric.
Right.
Sorry to burst that bubble.
He told the Pacers, right, that he's not going to sign with them.
So how do you feel about that? I think it was inevitable that he wasn't going to stay a Pacer.
I think it's
But how do you feel about him saying this now? Because now this basically gives Indiana a chance to trade him instead of just losing him.
It's a good thing for the Pacers because they now know that they're not going to get him and they can get some value for him. Fantastic. That's great. But then it also kind of like leaves this kind of thing of now teams know that the Pacers are going to be desperate to, teams know that the Pacers are going to be desperate to trade him, so they're not necessarily going to give him their best offer per se. You don't know that for a fact, but that's what I kind of look at it too.
Yeah, but we're not talking about an iffy player here. We're talking about a verified superstar in our league when he's healthy.
I know. So I think the only team though, I think it'd be Cavs or Celtics are the only teams that would willingly give it up. Like I don't see another team because then he's still gonna be a free agent. And there's no guarantee you sign with them.
Paul George wants to go to LA, but LA doesn't have enough to give.
Right, but like that's what I'm saying. Like it's like, do you give up a lot to get him for this win now 1 year thing? If you're the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yes.
What do you have to give?
Kevin Love. I can give Iman Shumpert.
If they take Kevin Love.
I mean, dude, you got to think.
If you're the Pacers, you need draft picks or a good young
They have 2 first-rounders. They have a second-rounder in this draft. And let me just continue here. If you get Kevin Love, you have a Miles Turner character that you want to believe in. I mean, so he's your 5. If you bring in Kevin Love, he could finally play a traditional 4-man. He won't really need to be bodying in the post anymore. And then you could get an Iman Shumpert, a good wing player. He could kind of bode well with Lance Stevenson. I know, but Indiana has to be thinking that they want to make a deal. You just said a good little point that they might not be getting the best deal possible now because they only have a year to do it, and then he can walk cash free.
And they get nothing.
So they're going to want to make a deal, and the Cavs have so many of those expendable players. You can get rid of a Channing Frye, a Richard Jefferson, so that Indiana can take and then drop so that they don't have to worry about their money. You can bring in a guy like Iman Shumpert, even J.R. Smith. Bring in J.R. Smith, who is a 3-and-D. You can bring in Kevin Love, who I was bashing a lot, but he's still a top 20 player in this league.
You know what I mean? Numbers increase probably.
So I think Paul George to the Cavs, in LeBron's eyes, makes a ton of sense.
Right.
David Griffin now out as Cavaliers GM. So
does it make the East more competitive?
The interim GM for the Cavaliers is player coach and GM LeBron James. But oh, come on, man. Stop with this petty argument of does this make the East better? Even as a Knicks fan, even as a Nets fan, even as a Celtics fan, if they get Jimmy Butler and the Cavaliers don't get Paul George, yeah, now the Cavs have a legitimate contender for the East. But dude, whether you like it or not, we're in a league of super teams right now, and the Warriors in the West are not going anywhere.
Nope.
So I think the Cavs and Paul George make a ton of sense. And on the other side, I think Jimmy Butler makes more sense as that superstar to go to Boston rather than to Cleveland. If you want to talk
I mean, it all makes sense. But man,
stop. I'm not going to get into this argument with you, man, about the freaking super teams. You're acting like
look at it.
You're acting like a petty fan. I hate this argument.
Why?
Because it's just like you have to deal with.
Why should I pay attention to a league where it's going to be Cavs Warriors again?
Because you got to respect the game for what it is.
Watch, like Timberwolves, Blazers at 10:30 on TNT.
What I know we weren't around for this, but what do you call the 1980s when it was Celtics Lakers versus Detroit Pistons a couple years, but it was Celtics Lakers
or twice. It was twice in the late 80s.
Yeah, Celtics Lakers, Bulls Lakers, Lakers Celtics.
Rockets
Celtics. Once or twice.
Sixers,
but my point is,
Sixers
Eric,
also won a championship.
My point is, Eric,
Michael Jordan's Bulls were actually competitive
more
teams
in the 90s.
But in the 80s, they were right there giving fits.
But who was in the finals, Eric? There's no denying that in the 80s.
I'm not necessarily talking just about
because
the finals.
I'm
talking about there was no competition. There was one good game in like entire Eastern Conference playoffs, and that was Celtics Wizards Game 6. That was
maybe
the game.
Eastern Conference playoffs weren't as fun.
I'm not talking. I have no problem with it being Warriors Cavs. I have a problem with it being 12-0 going into the finals with the Warriors. Absolutely no competition there.
You can't respect dominance because this won't be the next 12
it's more than
years.
That's exactly what it is. It's dominance. But there's a difference between the dominance of the Warriors, and then if you look over the NFL, you can kind of give this thing that, Patriots are a dynasty, but they've never really had dominance. Their 1 year dominance, they lost in the final to the Super Bowl. Last year, they weren't a dominant team, but they were just a really good team.
Whether they lose...
No one ever thought that they were definitely going to win. Now I think going into next year that, this is definitely happening. The Warriors are in the finals, and they're probably going to win.
Whether they lose a Week 8 game against the Chiefs or not, it's inevitable that the Patriots are the dynasty every single season. There's no arguing that. I mean, come on now.
But there's no guarantee. Like, I'm not sitting there like, that the Steelers can't. The Steelers could definitely win that game. I don't necessarily look at the Rockets.
Eric, the Boston Celtics were the first seed in the East going into the playoffs.
Yeah, that goes to show how much of a joke the regular season is.
I mean, no, man. I don't think that the Cavaliers and Celtics. Yeah. You could even throw the Washington Wizards in, were legitimate teams in that Eastern Conference. But I think just as an overall fan, you're not changing anything. The Wizards would have given
the Cavs, I think, a little bit more trouble.
I think we need to just take it how it is. We need to just sit back and try to relax and watch. We're both fans of low-market teams, so it's not like I'm a Warriors fan and I'm...
Like the Rockets won in 95 and 94, right? They were a 7 seed in 95. So they weren't even the best team that year, but they turned it on. So maybe it looks like, the Rockets were the best team in 94 or 95, but they weren't even the best team in 95 in the Eastern Conference. They just or the Western Conference. They turned it on. Like there's just, we're sitting here and we know it's going to be Cavs Warriors next year. It's like one of those things where, do I need to watch the first 18 episodes when I know 19, 20, and 21 are going to be the best 3? I'll just tune in when I know what, just give me the summary of the first 18 episodes, and then I'll watch it when it's going to be great. Or is it going to be
comparing to the 80s? Is it going to be the Sixers year? And I say Sixers, the 86ers for the Boston Celtics. Or is Washington...
No one believes that.
Is Washington going to surprise us?
It's not like the Sixers came out of nowhere.
Let me tell you something.
The Sixers were a good team in that.
The Celtics are a good team. The Washington Wizards are a good team. What are you talking about? They're not. They won the regular season. I mean, Eric, dude, did you really think that in the Eastern Conference during the 80s, anyone was looking at the Boston Celtics saying they're not?
They only won 3.
Huh?
They only won 3.
Did you not watch the 30 for 30 just last week?
I haven't watched it yet.
The Celtics and Lakers.
I know enough about it, though. I don't need to watch documentary.
The Celtics and Lakers, at least one of them were in 9 of the 10 championships in that decade. If you don't call that dominating the NBA for 10 years, then you're kidding yourself. Just because they didn't have podcasts and 104.5 The Teams and First Takes with Stephen A. Smith and the media talking about it and jabbering about it every single day doesn't mean that it just gets swept under the rug. I mean, we were witnessing dominance in the 80s. No one was touching those two teams besides a couple annoyances of the Philadelphia 76ers, the Rockets, and the Detroit Pistons here and there. But come on, man. It's like... That has happened in this league. Just because we are in a media age where now we talk about and we tweet about and we text about everything at every second, it is amplified. But we've seen this before. So I think LeBron James isn't here.
I don't think we ever saw a player who lost to 73 and 19, had them up 3-1 and goes to that team instead when it could have been more competitive with that team. I don't think we saw that in the 80s. Magic Johnson was drafted by the Lakers, and all of a sudden Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was there for a long time after being traded from the Bucks, and Larry Bird. I don't know how, but Red Auerbach manipulates the system.
This is, in my opinion, that's no longer a valid argument. Last summer, when we were talking about KD free agency, you can talk about we never saw that, but now we're a season and a championship under his belt in to KD's tenure in the Warriors.
When it happened, no one was saying that it wasn't going to like that. Like, he went there, but it's not like he's not going to win a championship there.
Yes, they all were. What? Everyone was saying it was the softest move in history because they said if you can't beat him, join him. That's exactly what he did.
Yeah, exactly. No, but no one was saying, but they're not going to win.
No. I mean, yes. Everyone was saying that they were going to win. But my point is, Eric, whether KD might have changed the norm of how a super team has been formed.
I don't even need to hear the word super team. It's a lack of competitiveness.
We've seen dominant teams. We won't use the word super. We've seen dominant teams own conferences for extended period of time before in this league. And I think, let me just finish this last point. I think, because this argument can go on all day. Let me just finish this last point here. LeBron has 3 more great years. I think 5 total, and then he's going to start owning teams. He's going to be a player for just 5 more years. 3 of dominance. KD is already 27, turning 28 this year. He's not going to be dominant for maybe no more than 5 years. So if you think that, oh my God, like we're going to be in this thing for the long haul and no one's ever going to be it, Steph Curry, now with a superstar like KD, he's turning into just that shooter. Who knows? Klay Thompson can move because he might want to start his own franchise. Draymond Green's only a 12-point-per-game scorer.
I mean, I hope.
We won't be... I think we're in for it for about 2 more seasons of just like, oh,
and it's the first time it's ever happened where it was back to back to back of the same 3 teams. You make the argument, fine. In the 80s, nine of those, but there was never 3 in a row back to back.
And I finished
you're saying
this.
It could happen twice more.
I finished this segment by saying,
so it is unprecedented.
And why not just embrace it?
Because I'm someone that likes to pay attention to it the entire year, and this year was a very disappointing year for me. I'm just speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for anybody else. But this was a very disappointing year for me because I like paying attention the entire year, and the entire year was like, okay, maybe the Wizards, the Wizards, okay, fine. Maybe I don't like the Celtics, but it's like, okay, maybe the Celtics will make this a good series, and it just never happened. Well, maybe the Rockets, okay, the Rockets are having the most 3-pointers ever. Maybe it will be them. It just never happened. I'm like someone that likes to look at those teams and see who's going to get there, and it just never happened. And I'm just very disappointed because of that. And then it's not like it's going to get any better because now Paul George or Jimmy Butler are now going to be on the team anymore. It's like when Paul George got Thaddeus Young, Miles Turner in his next year, and Jeff Teague comes in, I'm like, oh, this is a Pacers team that's going to come in and they're going to actually possibly have a good chance. And what do? They get swept by the Cavaliers in the first round. I thought that they played a good series in those games. They were a lot closer, but they got swept. They didn't even win any of the games.
So I mean, it sounds kind of blunt and probably not what you want to hear, but get better, man. You have to work to get better. Nothing's handed to you. If you have the money like that, but for these small market teams, nothing is going to be handed to them, so why not grind it out and just get better on your own? I mean, yeah, you're in a dog age for them right now, but my whole point with this argument, whether one side is right or the other side is right, that's irrelevant because we're in it and there's nothing we could do about it. Why continue to argue it is what I'm saying. Why not just embrace it? And as a Suns fan, for me, I'm looking to see Devin Booker become more of a facilitator now. He's a great scorer, but now let's see if he could get 6 assists a game. I have other things, little things as a basketball fan. I'm never going to not be a fan. You're saying, oh, it was a bad year for me to watch. Come on, if you're an NBA fan, you're gonna enjoy it for whatever it is. So try to find little things.
That's one person's opinion. Okay.
Yeah, no, and I'm saying whether I'm right or not, this is how I am going about this argument because us talking about it really won't be changing a lot. So try to do the glass half full view of this of we might as well just sit back as much as we can relax.
Well, I'm trying to get paid this as a profession, so
yeah.
I probably should talk about it, but I understand.
We're talking about it right now. I'm not shutting it up, but I'm saying let's now talk about what the Suns, what the Nets can do to just better themselves.
It also doesn't help that
every game.
I'm in a abyss for at least 2 more years as a Nets fan. I mean, that probably doesn't help me.
I'm in the same way. The Suns are in the same boat.
That's fair, I guess.
But
you have the 4th pick this year, and next year, if the Nets are one of the worst teams again, they also don't get their pick. But I get it. People try to compare it to the Nets. There's nothing even close to the Nets.
But all you can blame is yourselves.
I do blame Billy King. 100% I blame Billy King.
So
I'm not running the organization.
Right. And what do you do now besides with the team that you have, try to get better every game. Right. Whether you win 11 games this year or 55 games this year, you're just looking to get better by the game. And every team should just buckle their belt, quit whining about super teams, and just get better every game.
Teams are trying to get better.
If they can't beat the Cavs and they can't beat the Warriors, so be it. Continue to get better, and who knows? Maybe the next game, maybe the next series, maybe the next season is their season.
Hopefully.
There's no longer this sitting back and crying about it, man. And that's just the hard truth. Hot take. Take.
I'll close it out by saying I'm only crying, if you want to use that. And I use that in air quotes.
No, I'm not demeaning you. I'm saying just,
I'm complaining about it because if I'm watching a TV show that I don't, and maybe it's not a valid argument, but if I'm watching a TV show and I don't, and I'm not, when I used to really like watching it and then all of a sudden I don't like to watch it, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to be like, oh, well, the writers need to get better? Or just,
hey, agree to disagree. It's a great argument to have. And I enjoyed it.
What was that? What was the point of that? The beginning of it, just they might get Paul George or Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, and then that turned into the super teams. And
then David Griffin isn't even there anymore. So that's an interesting.
Yeah. So David Griffin now, like I said, now the acting GM is almost
right. I mean, who's making these deals now?
Right.
Where'd he go is another thing too. Because I know teams are looking for him. People were wanting to take him away. So
I think David Griffin will find a home.
Was Orlando an option?
Orlando's an option.
That'd be interesting if he could take that team and make it,
Yeah, I mean,
they turn things around.
So
it's not easy to turn things around. I think it's a league where you can't just all of a sudden become good.
Yeah, you got to work for it, and I agree with that. So Eric, I'm relatively new to this. Do we have like a comment section?
Well, yeah, when we post it on YouTube, there's comments. You can make comments.
On the website though, because this goes up on the website as well, or is this just on YouTube?
Well, we'd have to have someone blog it.
Okay. We should get it to blogging because we're hot and fired up about this, and I know once these listeners listen, they're gonna have some hot takes. So honestly, please, we encourage you to leave a comment on the YouTube page, right?
Yeah, you can tweet.
Because we would love to embrace debate, because even if you guys have other things, maybe you are an Orlando Magic fan, a Minnesota Timberwolves fan, and we didn't talk enough about them, let us know, and we'll bring them up because we would love to talk about more. Just let us know, because we would truly love any feedback at all. So just hit us up. What's the YouTube? Just at 1045 The Team,
it's
right?
youtube.com/team1045.
Team1045. And I'll honestly talk to Gaz and Levac and whoever that needs to be talked to about blogging it up on the website too.
That won't be a problem.
Right. So we'll blog it up on the website. So if you feel like
you can tweet at us too if you really want.
Right. I mean, shout out your Twitter.
Yeah, at EricH1045.
Right, I'm at Drew_Logar, ZLOGAR.
There you go.
And honestly, we're always on our social media sites, embracing debate. We're always jabbing at each other. So we would love for you to join in on the jab. But
yeah, that'd be nice.
I had fun today.
That'd be nice if we get some feedback on this.
Right. I had a good time today debating. It was a great show.
Yep. Other podcasts are up. We'll have more in the future. Enjoy the NBA draft Thursday, the 22nd.
Yeah.
The 22nd. And that will be fun to watch
summer,
as well. We'll have a lot more to talk about in terms of other sports too, possibly some baseball. Obviously, in the midst of that, dog days of summer coming up. Should be fun to talk about. So for Drew's Logo, I'm Eric Hammond. This has been the Sittin Sportside podcast. Thank you for listening.
Peace.